Hello and welcome back to the Orlando Adventures podcast. I'm your host, Russ, and today we've got another very, very special guest. This is a guy I've wanted to have on the podcast for a long time at this point. We have got Leigh from A Brit Travels. Welcome to the podcast, Leigh.
Hey, Russ, nice to be on. Thank you very much for having me. It has been a long time coming, hasn't it? We've been talking about this for, 2 or 3 months at this point. So
Yeah, I've been looking forward to it. Looking forward to it a lot. I've been looking forward to talking to yourself, and it's good to kind of meet you face to face as much as anything. Because obviously we've had a lot of chats about Orlando, that's for sure.
I think it's something that, well, if you're in the community, if you're on Instagram, if you're on YouTube or anything like that, I think it's a common bond for us all, isn't it?
It
Do
is.
you remember this on that ride? Do you remember that ride being there? What about this? And we all kind of have that common bond of, what's your favorite snack in the Magic Kingdom? And everybody's got one, right? So it works quite well. It's a common thread for us all.
Yeah, indeed. So just to kick us off, who are you? Who is Leigh? Who and what is A Brit Travels?
Yeah, so I'm Leigh. I'm from, here we go. Here's the bio. Let's go for it.
Here we go.
I South Coast, south of the UK. I just really got into traveling, as we all did. We got a love for Orlando, theme parks, all things like that, and I just wanted to document it. And I think there was a period there of the couple of years that we tend not to like to talk about anymore, where we couldn't go anywhere and we just wanted to sit and look at our pictures, right? And so it was a case of, you start an Instagram account, you start a YouTube account, and you're documenting your memories, ultimately, the memories that you've made on these adventures to Orlando and beyond.
In terms of when you started your Instagram and your YouTube, was this, and I almost don't want to say the words, but did you do it during COVID? During the blip, so to speak.
Yeah, so not quite. So let's go slightly into real life. Just prior to that period of time, to the blip, I lost my job, and I thought, right, now's the perfect time. I wasn't one of those that went onto furlough, but I'd lost my job, had a little bit of time, I took it out, and I was like, right, I'm going to start Instagram, I'm going to start YouTube. I've got time to sit down and actually edit these videos. And it kind of went from there. And as you know, as everybody knows, we had what we thought was going to be 2 weeks, and then it was going to be 3 weeks and 4 weeks, and what ended up being 2 years later. And by 9 months or so in, and we started to be able to go places, and I had another job, and it just became every day, really. It just became everyday life, and Russ, as you know, doing the podcast, it becomes something that you enjoy more than you expect. You start it off as just, a little bit on the side, see how it goes, and then you just really enjoy documenting, giving advice, helping people out, and bringing people into the fold with you. And my wife and I, Becky, she loves to travel just as much as I did. She probably wouldn't be my wife if she didn't, because that would make things a little bit awkward. But
indeed,
it was a really good opportunity to just document our adventures. And we've been to quite a few places at this point. We've been to Orlando more times than a lot of people would probably like to count. And it's just a good way to put that down. And if we can bring other people into that and have them watch the adventures with us, that's all the more fun, right?
Yeah, exactly. Indeed. So I suppose in terms of actually when you started the YouTube, when did you kind of launch your YouTube channel then?
So that would have been early 2020.
Okay.
As the blip begun to happen, imagine the idiocy of starting a travel related
travel
YouTube
when you can't travel.
and Instagram when you can't travel. I think back right in the middle of it all, I even did a video, and I titled it A Brit Can't Travel or something stupid like that, and I was just at home baking. I was one of those bake at home guys with the camera above above the baking tray, making Disney themed cookies, so yeah, it was started right early on there. You have ups and downs throughout that. Obviously that 2-3 year period there was quite tricky for everybody, actually. But yeah, having a travel related YouTube and Instagram during that period of time, I can't recommend it. Hopefully we never have to go through that again.
Yeah,
so
fingers crossed.
we want to keep being able to jump on a plane, right? That's why we're here. That's what keeps us going.
Indeed. And did you have any inspiration from like other YouTubers and other content creators to kind of start this?
Oh, I think I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Mr. Tim Tracker.
Yeah.
I think we all knew the bloke at this point. Not personally. There's some people out there that have a better relationship with him, but that guy is like the pinnacle of Orlando theme park vlogger, right? I think he's just shy of a million subscribers at this point. I met him back in 2019, just before I started all of this. We were in Universal Studios, and it was around Mardi Gras time. Side note, I do absolutely adore Mardi Gras at Universal Studios. I think they really go. The parade is just insane. Getting the beignets, you can't beat it. But yeah, I saw them at Universal Studios and saw how. I mean, at this point, they're 8 years deep in doing it, 9 years deep in doing it. So it's pretty seamless for them. And I think it was just a case of like, that's what brings the love of Orlando and the theme parks, watching his videos. And it was just kind of, let's give it a go. Let's see how this goes. And, 4.5 years later, I'm still doing it,
Still going strong. And
it's done all right. Yeah.
I will say, like, your channel is spot on. Like, I love it. I genuinely, and I'm not just saying it, I think your videos are fantastic. You're informative yet entertaining. There's different content, and I'm here for it. So, like, full props to you for going, you know what, I'm going to do it. And you did, and you're still here. Like, and you're still here going strong as well. So, like, hold my hands up as absolute, like, fair play to you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you saying that. And side note on that, one of your guests a few weeks back, Time for Jade, giving me a shout out. I do appreciate that, good friend. And it's things like that and helping people out and just trying to give that information across. That's kind of what makes it worth it. Getting some nice comments as well. People sharing your posts on their stories on Instagram. Every time that happens, you still light up inside, right? So
yeah. Every time.
Fantastic.
And like, I'm months into this, you're years into it. And like, for me, obviously I'm months into it, and I like it genuinely, it makes my day every time. So it's feel like every time I see another download on a podcast episode, I'm like genuinely, it blows my mind. I'm like, the appreciation I have is through the roof currently.
It's so fulfilling, isn't it? It's so fulfilling. Even on your worst days, and you sit there and you see the number. We don't do it for a number, obviously.
Exactly.
We do it to build a community, but you see the number ticking up. You see a comment come in, or like a review in your case, or something like that, or a share, and it fills you with such joy that it can lift you out of those bad days, because we all have them, right? That's real life, unfortunately. So I wish real life was just going to Orlando, jumping on a plane every week, or even living over in Orlando. That'd be nice, right? The parks being local, that would be pretty cool.
That's the dream.
That is the dream. That is the dream.
You never know. I suppose talking about Orlando then, when was your first trip to Orlando?
So my first trip was 2017, I think, early 2017, and I really kind of fell into it in a bit of a weird way. For people that are listening, Russ and I are on video now, and he's wearing a Project Rock t-shirt. Under Armour Project Rock, I believe it is, right? So let's go on a tangent slightly, and let's talk about wrestling. So wrestling has a Super Bowl every year, WrestleMania. And one year it was in Orlando, and I said to myself, right, if I'm going over to WrestleMania, we watched wrestling as kids, right? Back in school, and you play with the action figures when you're in primary school, right? And I was like, right, I'm going to go to WrestleMania. I did it. I went to WrestleMania, and Disney just happened to be there. Right. So I never planned on going to Disney. We didn't go to Universal on that trip, just went to City Walk and went to the Hard Rock Cafe there. But it was really from that trip. I was always into theme park, loved theme parks anyway, grew up going to Thorpe Park, Chesington, Alton Towers, all of that. But Orlando was 2017. And if I hadn't gone to WrestleMania, and if I hadn't just chanced going to Disney on that trip, none of this would have happened at all. And I think there's just something, if you've never been to Orlando, obviously it's hard to convey to somebody like how it feels when you step into like the Magic Kingdom for the first time. You're walking down
Yeah.
Main Street and you see,
Yes.
you see
Yeah.
you see the castle in front of you, and it's just like everything's just on a different scale, right? For me, like I absolutely love roller coasters, but like the dark rides are something that we don't have in the UK. We've got, you
Yeah.
can count them on one hand, the amount of dark rides that you've got, and Becky and I absolutely love the dark rides. I think it's just being able to sit on the ride and take in. It's like going onto a movie set, right?
Yeah.
And
you live. Yeah.
yeah. So from that very first one, stepping on things like "It's a Small World," however much we love to hate, let's say, the song, Haunted Mansion, Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, something like that, because Disney doesn't have a lot of like high speed roller coasters, does it? Right. So
No, I'm definitely more family fun geared towards that. No, I mean that's fair, isn't it?
absolutely, and that's not a bad thing in any way,
No,
shape, or form.
that's the audience. Yeah.
It absolutely is the audience, and so I think walking into places like Magic Kingdom and seeing that, it just ignited this love for Orlando for me. And then, well, I went in 2018. I went in 2019. I had a major accident there in 2019, which threw me through a ringer a little bit. I went a week before the blip.
Yeah, nice.
I was still in the US as Disney and Universal shut down the parks.
Oh my god.
So it was like quite a weird time, I was there for the opening of Mickey Minnie's Runaway Railway.
Yeah.
And which I love that ride, by the way. It gets a lot of hate because it replaced the Great Movie Ride, which is fair because the Great Movie Ride, like I went on that, and that's one of the rides that I do remember doing from 2017, and it's a fantastic ride. But the Great Movie Ride appeals to far wider audience, I think. So yeah. I was there for the final opening, and that was one of the last ones that Disney didn't do a virtual queue on. So I got into the park at like 5 a.m. We were queuing all down, like all through the center of Hollywood Studios, right in front of the Chinese Theater. We were queuing there, and then it snaked all the way down Sunset Boulevard to the Tower of Terror. And
amazing.
If you've been to Disney, the kind of like end of line signs, and when you see that end of line sign and your heart sinks knowing that you've got like a 4-hour queue to do or something. But there was just like an atmosphere about it that you don't get when you have the virtual queue. It just doesn't come across the same way, does it? Right. I think the ride openings now, they're a little bit more lackluster because everybody's like there on their phone at 7 a.m. like, get a virtual queue, jump on it. And it's, it's frustrating for people that aren't as technologically focused, I suppose.
Yeah, definitely gone. It's definitely gone that way, isn't it? Fairly heavily reliant on the technology, on the app, which is like to an extent is fine, but it does require you to know what you're doing. I think it's probably fair to say, especially with like the new Lightning Lane situation, that kind of stuff. Like you need to know, and you need to have read up on it a bit, which is why things like the podcast or your YouTube come in really good.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, like especially, we all love the travel day. We all love the travel day videos and how things are changing. I think particularly during COVID there, where there was that, like, you've got to make sure you're tested. You've got to make sure that you've got all your documentation, things like that. And whilst we were loving following along with people to just go to Orlando, it was also a great way of like, right, how do we go to Orlando? Because there's so many more rules in place now, and thankfully, in touch wood, it doesn't go back that way. Much of those rules are lifted. So we're just more of a free for all. Thankfully, we can go to our favorite place as and when we want.
Indeed. Where do you usually stay when you stay in Orlando, or do you go to different resorts and hotels every time?
So we try and change it up. I mean, Disney's got what, like 25 or something hotels at the moment, right? So there will come a point in time. I don't know if I'm trying to tick it off the bucket list of where we want to go to each and every Disney hotel and stay for at least a night. Side note on that, we generally don't stay anywhere for more than like a few nights. So if we're staying on Disney property or Universal property, we'll do 4 or 5 nights maximum in a place, and then we'll move on. And if I don't know if anybody who's listening has done that, Disney will actually move your luggage for you between their properties.
It is great.
Universal, there's a caveat to it where it has to be in the same category or higher or something like that. I don't know the full rules of it because I've not stayed as much on Universal property as I would like to, but we're trying to get like a couple of days done in each resort. So we stayed at the All-Star Movies, we stayed at Caribbean Beach, which is one of my favorite, Coronado. Yes, I want to stay at the deluxe resorts, but I also like going to Orlando multiple times.
Yeah.
And one night at the Poly or one night at the Contemporary is as much as I normally spend on a week in a hotel. So
There you go.
you know,
So yeah,
I'm not saying I'm
exactly
a cheapskate,
that.
but I'm a cheapskate because I want to go back to Orlando again.
This is the conversation I've had a lot. Like I've said before that, like if it were down to going to Orlando multiple times and as frequently as possible, if I sacrifice one thing, I'm going to sacrifice the hotel, in my opinion, because I spend the least time in there.
Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? Because we do want those amenities in the hotel, but we're not there. We're not in the hotel, and we do stay off property quite often. The most recent trip that I had, I went on a solo trip in January, and that was to the Rosen Inn, Lake Buena Vista. And I don't know if anybody's stayed at that hotel before, but it is budget friendly. It is a 5-minute walk to Disney Springs if you're not driving. Even if you want to get an Uber is going to cost you like $5 or something. You've got a whole bunch of restaurants, shops close by. There's a Starbucks 2-minute walk away. We stayed in villas a couple of times and apartments around the area as well. And that's typically more down in the Disney region. I don't think Universal has a lot of like villas up that way, but we just really like try and mix it up and like explore Orlando as much as possible. As I said, I do enjoy staying on Disney property. I would advocate it for anybody, particularly the first time as well. So if you're going to Orlando for the first time, staying on Disney property or Universal property, there's kind of like nothing like it really.
Yeah.
But for us personally, we've been like 8 times at this point or something, 8 or 9 times. Staying off property is kind of where our heart lies. And we always hire a car as well. So it doesn't make a lot of difference staying on property versus staying off property, right? So
nice.
That was a mixed bag answer there. So we stay everywhere is the short of it.
No, but that's fair enough. Like that's as much as anything like kind of what I was looking for and getting at a little bit as well. I suppose with you got regards to saying that you do stay off property more, but you also get the car. Is there any like activities that you like to do outside of the parks in and around Orlando?
Yeah, there's so much, isn't there?
I'm sure the list is like endless.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be remiss if I didn't say go into the outlets because I think it's a rite of passage for people, isn't it, to go to the outlets.
It really is.
Go and save 30% on a pair of trainers that you don't need, but they're 30% off, so you're going to buy them regardless.
It's a bargain, so it's rude not to buy it.
You have to do it, right? You have to do it if you're saving.
And then a week later, when you see another pair, and you're like, I don't need them, but I want them.
It's like Prime Day all over again. It's Prime Day for 2 weeks straight when you're in Orlando, right?
Literally, yeah.
So yeah, we like to do the outlets, and we get a lot of Disney souvenirs from there. The character warehouse that they've got at the outlets. I think if I remember correctly, there's an outlet up by Universal, and there's an outlet down by Disney as well. And there's character warehouse, they called them, which is like cheap Disney souvenirs. And back when I first went there, you could pick up pins for 99 cents, something stupid like that. So if you're into pin trading, getting a few pins for 99 cents, you get duplicates as well and just keep them in your bag. You don't have to show the cast members that you just went and bought them all from the outlets. But it's a cheap way of doing pin trading. So we always love to go to the outlets. We always try and take an afternoon out there. Another one we love to do is just exploring Disney Springs, because I think it's like it's a park in its own right. Like the theming around there is fantastic. The food and drink there is phenomenal, and I'm sure we'll get onto that at some point through this.
No
where do you like to eat? What's your what's your favorite thing to do? But some of the restaurants there, some of them are expensive. They're table service, but there are just some grab and go booths there. You've got shopping as well, so we love just mooching around the shops, even if we're not spending anything. Disney and all these shops, they know that you're just going to go in there, you're going to look at it, you can see that bag's $500. You're not going to buy it, but you're going to go, oh yeah, that looks nice, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And then you're going to walk back out the shop and back into the Florida heat, and yeah, you're gonna love it. For that, we did a lake tour at Winter Park. So Winter Park's up in northern Orlando. I think it's just before. It's either just before the actual city of Orlando or just after. And basically you get on they do the same boats as the firework cruises that Disney do, or one of the ones that goes to the resorts at Universal just without the roof. and they take you around the lakes, because Orlando's quite wet area. Florida is quite a wet area. They've got a lot of lakes, a lot of canals that connect. And we go up there, and basically they're just pointing out all of these celebrity mansions and all of the expensive places on the lake. So you'll see mansions that are, 10, $15 million or something. And you're like, wow, that'd be nice, wouldn't it? That'd be really nice. And they'll tell you whose they think they are as well, and the history of the lakes and the region.
Nice.
So
That's cool.
It's pretty cool. I would recommend it. I think it's very cheap. It was like $20 per person at the time, but it's a nice way to see sort of like something outside of the parks, something you wouldn't typically go to.
Something a bit different. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and obviously NASA is there. If you can get up to NASA, we've done that a couple of times. We'd highly recommend it. And just being a Brit, going around like Walmart and Target, and what we have, like 2 varieties of mustard here. They've got 42 varieties of mustard. If you've been to a Walmart Supercenter or a Target Extra, they're massive, and you can walk, and it's like walking a marathon, going doing your shop around this Target or Walmart.
It did even out, to be honest. It's right up there in my evening activities.
Absolutely. I love it. It's one of the first things I do when I land in Orlando. I'll get the car, go on a trip to Walmart. I think I'm going to be there for 40 minutes, and I end up being there for 2 hours. I'm like,
yeah,
that's my evening gone, but I've enjoyed every second of it anyway. So.
Oh, fantastic! Yeah. I suppose while we're on Orlando, when is your next trip then?
Should we do a trip announcement?
Yeah, I reckon.
Should we do a trip announcement?
Oh, let's do it.
Let's do one. So I haven't even spoken to you about this yet, not even whilst we've been messaging on Instagram or anything. So trip announcement, the next trip coming up is the 4th of September this year.
That's not long at all.
We're a few weeks out from that. A little bit of a last minute decision on my part. I'm not doing Disney this time. I might just rock up to Mickey's Not So Scary. I haven't got tickets to the parks or anything like that. I am a Universal annual pass holder.
Yeah.
So I'll be spending my time at Universal. I'll be flying with Virgin. And this is a callback to, I think you did an episode, probably 5 episodes ago, Orlando on a budget at this point.
Yeah.
And how to book Orlando cheap. And it was, what did you do it with? Air Miles, right?
Yeah.
Virgin Atlantic Air Miles.
Flying Club points, yeah.
Yeah, so I got a good Flying Club deal, and I thought, right, let's do it. So I'm going on a solo trip for a week to Orlando. I'm going to do Halloween Horror Night. So I just bought my Rush of Fear pass. So I've got the whole first weekend at Halloween Horror Nights, and I'm going to go and do Not So Scary probably as well, and just really chill in the parks for a week or so. That's the next Orlando trip. And then of course, we're planning, if all goes to plan, to go next year as well. Keeping fingers crossed for the opening of Epic Universe.
Yeah, for opening.
Universal Epic Universe. If I can work out what they're doing with tickets, because they're being a little bit coy about it at the moment.
Yeah, definitely.
First time my family had been out to Orlando, they absolutely fell in love with it themselves. As soon as we got back to the UK, my parents, they said to me, when are we going back to Orlando next? So that starts the ball rolling, doesn't it? We originally looked at 2024, and then I said to my parents, let's delay it. Let's look at 2025 because Epic Universe is going to be open. Then we're guaranteeing something big that's new, right? Like Disney gets a new ride every year, Universal gets a new ride every year, but Epic Universe is just something on a different scale, isn't it? So yeah, 2025 we're planning on doing opening Becky and I for a week or so, and then a big blowout trip over Halloween and Christmas towards the end of 2025. That'll be the Epic Universe blowout trip with my parents as well. So introduce my parents to some of what we said before about going to the outlets, going to Disney Springs and NASA and stuff like that with them. The things that they haven't necessarily done because we had like 10 days and we were getting married right in the middle of it. So
in terms of activity,
that was obviously more important than going to the theme park for a day, right? They had to go to the wedding. So yeah, that's trip announcement is first week of September. Yeah, I'm going on a solo trip, and then a couple of trips in 2025.
Nice.
Hopefully we are going to Japan in the middle there as well. We're going to Japan in October, Becky and I, and that'll be not to get too much off of Orlando and stuff, but we'll be documenting our travels to Disney and Universal over in Japan, and that'll be our final Disney park out of the worldwide
Oh,
Disney
wicked.
parks. So yeah,
Yeah.
very much a lot coming up.
A lot coming up, which is good though. Like I take it you're going to be vlogging every trip.
Yeah, so if you've been on my channel at all, we've just come back from China. So we did Disney and Universal out in China. That was a bit of a whistle stop tour. Really like scary place for us to start with when we started booking it. But once we were there, it was just really easy actually. Both fantastic park. And then yeah, I put this Orlando trip right in the middle. And then we've got Japan, where we'll be doing a lot more of Japan that we'll be documenting and putting up on the YouTube channel. That'll probably be around Christmas time, I'd imagine.
Nice. You got a bit of editing to do in the meantime.
A week in Orlando and then 3 weeks in Japan. I'm gonna have a lot of videos to edit.
Yeah. You'll be busy, man.
I need to hire myself a personal editor or something like that. That'd be nice. But I enjoy the editing because it's watching it back, right? And it's remembering those memories that you create, 100%. And side note for anybody, like that's going on these trips to Orlando, to California, to wherever, take as many pictures as you can, really do it, and just live in the moment, because there's nothing quite like it, right? There's nothing quite like these theme parks and the experience that you have out there.
Yeah,
it's just
100%. 100%. I suppose talking about the other parks you've been to around the world, then in terms of like the other Disney and Universal ones, have you got a park that stands out as the best park outside of Orlando? It might be better than Orlando as well. Like
yeah, I mean it's tricky because Orlando is like a beast in its own right. Like Disney as a whole, you've got four theme parks at Disney in Orlando. You've got 2 water parks. You've got springs, 20 plus hotels, like we said, and they are home for me. They are home. There's no buts or maybes about that. But I think if we're to talk about like a park outside of Orlando that I genuinely have fallen in love with, it would probably be Shanghai Disneyland, the one we did on our last trip.
Yeah.
I think the reason for that, it's not because like I hate Orlando now or anything. Like I will always be going back to Orlando.
Yeah.
You cannot get me away from the place. But I think they've taken everything that they've learned over the years building Orlando. Like the Magic Kingdom opened in the 70s, and the last one that they did opened, when did the Animal Kingdom open? In like 98 or something, right? So they took everything that they learned over that time, then they built others outside of Orlando as well, and they've condensed all of that down into Shanghai Disneyland. The Pirates of the Caribbean there is just like, it's next level technology. Peter Pan's flight, again, next level technology, and there's actually space as well. Like,
nice.
You can walk down the street and you're not like shoulder barging somebody out of the way.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said for it, to be fair.
Right, they built the pathways like twice the width to accommodate for
higher
like
volume,
growth and higher attendance and things like that. And I think if we're talking like just the actual park itself, I think like Orlando cannot be compared, any of them. But I think Shanghai Disneyland as a park, it's a really cool place. And then, as a resort as a whole, I'd say Hong Kong Disneyland is pretty cool. It's a small, quaint little park, but the hotels there are really nice. And they speak English there as well, which is nice and easy to deal with in Hong Kong, because I think it used to be British territory. And then, like, if we're talking Universal Studios Beijing, I've been to Japan before. So I've done, outside of Singapore, I've done all of the Universal park, and Universal Studios Beijing was absolutely incredible. I don't know if anybody's seen videos or the stories. They're posted up on the videos posted on YouTube. I've got some posts on Instagram, but the rides over at Universal Studios Beijing, there was a Jurassic World adventure ride where a T-Rex actually chases you. A full-size T-Rex chases you.
I saw this the other day.
Like, it scares the bejeebers out of you, because you're like, how are they doing this? You've got a roller coaster that flies you over Isla Nublar, the land of Jurassic World. The Wizarding World is like twice the size over there as well.
Right.
Twice the size of Hogsmeade, obviously. Orlando has Diagon Alley and everything as well, so they can't really be compared. The only disappointment about that, actually, is they don't have Hagrid's Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure. And if anybody has ridden Hagrid's Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure, you know how insanely cool that ride is. It is phenomenal, right?
Epic ride,
So that was a disappointment they didn't have that, but they've got space for it. So I'm imagining, I'd love to go back to Universal Studios Beijing in 10 years' time
and see what's been added for sure,
and see what it's like. Because if you went to Orlando back in the 80s, it's grown and grown and grown, right? And Orlando's never going to stop growing. So that's one of the reasons we will always be going back to Orlando. With Universal opening Epic Universe next year, it's absolutely insane. So pretty cool. Shanghai Disneyland and Universal Studios Beijing. We're talking outside of Orlando.
It's exciting times. It's exciting, but sounds wicked. Like genuinely, like it's so cool. And obviously, I've seen your pictures in your videos. Have you got a ride from another park that you try and bring to Orlando if you could?
Yeah, I think the one I mentioned about Jurassic World Adventure. That having, and it's hard. I wouldn't take anything out of like Islands of Adventure or anything because I love Velocicoaster. I love Jurassic Park River Adventure. Even though Jurassic Park has turned into this weird like Park, Jurassic World
with hybridy thing now.
But let's just say let's get rid of King Kong Skull Island. Get rid of that.
Expand out that way.
Bring Jurassic World Adventure over. Expand and give them a good dark ride because it's kind of a mix of what did I compared it to the Amazing Adventures of Spider-Man at Universal and Dinosaur at Disney or Indiana Jones, which they're the same ride tech. It's kind of like that kind of ride. It's a mix of that. And it's just something else. And I think, Islands of Adventure needs some more indoor rides because if you've ever been in Islands during a thunderstorm, you're not doing anything.
You ain't doing
hours. You're sitting in Burger Digs or the Fantastic Four cafe or something, just watching the time pass until the storm goes. Because there's so many outdoor rides there. And then for Disney, I'd probably bring Zootopia because that's one of their newest rides. It's the coolest trackless ride vehicle that they've got, or Pirates of the Caribbean from Shanghai. Because again, like I said, Shanghai's got like the latest technology, but we're going to be getting some of this stuff in Orlando when it expands anyway. I think you did podcast the other day, didn't you, about the future of Walt Disney World? So we're going to have some stuff coming up on D23. That's Disney's Expo. Hopefully we'll get some announcements of new rides. It's been a little bit lacking in the past few years. We had a lot of like, maybe we could do this stuff. But hopefully this year we're going to get some concrete, like this is what's happening in Animal Kingdom. This is what's happening at Magic Kingdom. I think they need to expand Hollywood Studios as well, because despite Galaxy's Edge and Toy Story Land, that park's still a little bit of a bottleneck. I consider Hollywood Studios a little bit of a half-day park, really, because, once you've got on those rides,
I feel you.
A couple of shows, really, isn't it?
There's, and there's an argument for this, and in a couple of parks. But it's certainly there's scope there to do some expansions of sorts in various parks, and we'll see what they come out with D23. And they're inevitably going to do something. We don't know what it is, but hopefully something big and exciting will be coming our way to Orlando. Our kind of next little bit of the episode, we've got this like fun new feature that we put in called Keep, Update, and Close. I've given you 3, and to be fair, I've given you 3 totally random rides. Like none of them linked at all. The 3 that I've given Leigh this week are Mission Space, Dudley Do Right's Ripsaw Falls, and Star Tours. I was trying to just be fairly annoyingly different. Just by
they're very, very different rides. Aren't they? They're very different. And I sat
the fact that one of them is a water ride.
Right, Becky and I were sat there looking at these like, what on earth would we do with these rides? If we were Imagineers, if we were Universal Creative, what would we do? And I think we've come up with some good ideas.
Okay, nice.
And whether your listeners agree with me or not, or whether I get chased off of YouTube and Instagram after the podcast,
we'll see.
Here.
let's go with the keep. Go with the keep. We'll go with the good.
All right, we'll go with the good. So Dudley Do Right's Ripsaw Falls.
Nice.
I'll keep that.
Stays as it is. Yeah.
If we're being nitpicky, I'd update the ride vehicles because they're a little bit of a pain to get in. But the ride itself,
horrendous to get. To be fair.
They're all right. I was being nice.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
I'll say
they,
it. They honestly, I've been concerned about trying to get in and out of those log flumes before. I'm not tall. I wouldn't say I'm like big or anything, and I just like it literally worries me getting in and out of that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I feel like my knee was kind of like cocked out of the log flume when I last went on it, but the ride itself,
yeah,
you're supposed to get wet, and you get
yeah.
wet.
You
You want
do.
good theming, you've got good theming. You know, it needs a little bit of a refresh and a paint, like a paint. It doesn't need like changing or anything.
Yeah,
But I love the ride, so I keep
cool.
that. Update or close? Where we going?
Whichever one you want.
Right, let's go with update, and let's throw out a little bit of a hot take. And this is where I'm like, are people going to chase me away for this?
Yeah.
Right. Update Star Tours.
Okay.
Update Star Tours. Get rid of the Star Wars theme.
Oh,
Right,
that's
I
the
know
big one. That's the big one.
controversy there. That's the controversy, right? So the reason I said that is because you've got Galaxy's Edge already,
Yep.
and Star Tours. Like if you've been to Hollywood Studios a couple of times, you'll know how weird it is that you walk past the Star Wars ride, then you keep going, and then you've got Muppet Vision 3D on the left hand
Yep.
side, and you go down Grand Avenue or whatever into Galaxy's Edge, and you're like, oh, now I've got another 2 Star Wars rides, but there was one back there. It just kind of doesn't fit, right?
Yeah.
So, and it's been there since the park opened, basically. So I would update it, and I would swap out the theme, and I would put in Futurama.
Okay. All right. This is different. Like I like
it's
it.
It's very different. It's very different. It's very much a hot take, but like Disney purchased 20th Century Fox.
Yeah.
That means, you know, Bender is a Disney princess at this point, you know, however much you want to look at it.
So you need to celebrate all. Yeah.
You need to celebrate all. So yeah, I think because Futurama is obviously set in space, it fits that kind of theme. You can have Bender replacing C-3PO, and you can just travel through all of their planets. You can have if you've ever watched Futurama, you've got that frog that hypnotizes, Hypnotoad, I think it is. He'd pop up on the screen, and I think it would work.
Yeah,
I think it would work. I'm armchair Imagineering here.
No, I mean it's great. I mean it's great that you've put proper thought into this as well.
I have.
Yeah, I love
you
that.
Sent me these, and I was like, I got to go big or go home on these.
Yeah, no, I love that. I mean that's an absolute shout as well. I mean, like, good call. And like I'm a Star Wars fan, but to be honest with you, I think it makes sense. I think it makes sense because, like you said, it is a bit random of where it is nowadays in terms of Star Tours. It's like it doesn't fit the area, and like Galaxy's Edge is so good and so immersive. Do we need Star Tours? I don't know, but
yeah, it's like a weird one, isn't it? So yeah, we'll see what Hollywood Studios looks like in 10 years' time.
Indeed,
and that leaves close. So Mission Space.
Yeah,
Mission Space is going. I think regardless of which way I went now, I think everybody was going to say close Mission Space, right?
Yeah. It's one of those, like, to be fair, I personally, I don't really get the motion sickness on it personally. I've gone on it with people when they have. I think where it is, just replace it with someone else, surely. Like, it's a big space, it's old,
I like. Then don't get me wrong. I like the ride. I do enjoy it. And like you said, Russ, I'm not one of those people that gets motion sick. Becky does. So she went on it the first time we went to Orlando together, and she hasn't been on it since.
There you go.
You know, so I think that kind of says it all. The first time Becky and I went together was 2018. You know, 6 years later, she's still not been back on it because she knows how bad it is, and that doesn't matter which side you go on. Whether you go on orange or green.
Yeah,
it still gives you motion sickness, right? So
yeah, there you go.
Yeah, pretty mad.
Nice, interesting one. I'll it'd be interesting to see what they do with it. To be fair, because it's been there a long time as well, and I don't know, like is Mission Space what needs to be filling that corner of the park nowadays? I don't know. I think if they were bold and decided to replace it, I don't think the fans of Epcot would be disappointed. I mean, it would probably be fair to say.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, cool. So we kind of got my 5 main questions to wrap up the podcast. So let's just go with the big one. What's your favorite ride straight off the bat?
Haunted Mansion.
Haunted Mansion, nice, absolutely.
Every single time. Every
Yeah.
single time. If anybody said that, the wedding cake that we had Disney make for us, I had the stretcher room portraits on the side of it.
Amazing. Oh, that's fantastic.
Everything about the ride I love. I love it's a dark ride. I love that, it's quintessential Disney.
Yeah.
It's classic.
Classic, yeah.
You've got a theme song that will be stuck in your head, with Grim Grin Ghosts as well, and it just goes really well. So
yeah, it ticks a lot of boxes. Yeah, I think it's absolute shout. To be fair, I could be wrong, and I could be doing my other guests a disservice, but I don't think anyone's ever said Haunted Mansion. I could be wrong. If they have, I'm so sorry. But
there you go.
Yeah,
there you go.
I don't remember
there.
anyone saying it. I think it's a good shout, and as an absolute legendary ride, it'll always stand the test of time, and shall never be replaced. I'm sure of that. Yeah, it'll be
sure. Good ride.
remain untouched. Going from favorite ride to favorite park, then.
Oh, it's really hard because having 6 parks in Orlando to choose from, it is really hard. I do love all the Disney parks, and I do float around all of them, but I always come back to Epcot. There's just something about, like you said before, we travel around quite a bit, and I think being able to walk around 10 or 11 countries around the World Showcase, within the space of a mile, and get a little bit of everybody's culture in there is really, really cool.
Yeah,
it's got some fantastic
special
rides as well. Having Spaceship Earth there is just absolutely incredible. Obviously Magic Kingdom is insane for the rides, the amount of rides in Magic Kingdom, but as an actual park and somewhere I would just be happy to walk into and just mooch around, it would be Epcot every single time.
Yeah. Proper relaxed, chilled out park. If you want to dip your toe into a good ride, there's a few around there. If you want to, get a bit informative, learn some stuff. And
they've got Guardians as well now, right? They've got Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind, right? Like,
there you go.
If you haven't been on Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind, you're missing out. That is one of the best rides in Orlando.
Yeah. Honestly, like, I haven't got into this before, but if they could do an expansion anywhere, expand on that area, because I think if you put another Guardians ride there of some sort, like, I'm a happy guy if they did it.
Yeah,
like,
I love Guardians Galaxy. I love the ride. I think it's worked. Yeah, it works well.
It's the only downside I think I have to that area is there's not enough. I want more. Yeah, give me more. Yeah, love it. Fantastic. So what's your hidden gem or most underrated, kind of either or?
Most underrated. I sat down and thought about this, and then I realized what my favorite ride was at Universal, and I realized how much people hate on me for it, but it is Men in Black Alien Attack.
I thought you were going to say Fast and Furious for a second.
Fast and Furious. I would probably I would go and run down the M25 or something if I said Fast and Furious. I deserve every bit of hate I would get if I said.
Someone's going to say it one day, and I'm just going to be like, "What the hell are you on about?"
Stop recording. Recording.
Men in Black.
Men in Black Alien Attack. I love that ride. It's got so much re-rideability. The competitive aspect of it. Right, Becky and I, what we do, and this is a little pro tip for anybody, we do single rider every time.
Okay.
Right? It's a 5-minute wait on single rider. No matter how long the queue is, it's a 5-minute wait.
Yeah.
More often than not, her and I will be on opposite ride vehicles.
Yeah. Nice.
And then we compete with each other now. Do I trust her to tell me the correct score? No, I don't. I tell her to take a picture of it, so I know she's not fobbing me off with a 560,000 score or something. But I love the ride. And the day they close that is the day, I will be very, very sad. It's a classic. Universal don't have enough dark rides. They've been really hit and miss with their dark rides in the past few years as well, with the one we mentioned there, Fast and the Furious Supercharged. It was terrible. It is terrible, and it needs replacing. And what's it, VillainCon, Minion Blast?
Yeah.
It's okay.
It's okay.
It
bit
does
of fun.
its job.
Yeah.
but it's
Yeah.
okay. So
Yeah.
Men in Black, I absolutely adore, and I could
Yeah.
ride it over and over again. I ride it like 4 times in a row every time.
Yeah.
Chuck the stuff in
Nice.
the locker, single rider, single rider, single
Yeah.
rider, single rider. Galaxy Defender, I love it. So.
Fantastic. Good shout. So from most underrated, we go to the potential controversial one. Most overrated ride then.
Yeah, this was a tricky one because I was like, I'm in an hour in between two,
Okay.
and they're both in the Magic Kingdom.
Okay. You're going into dangerous territory already here.
I'm going into dangerous territory. Right? So the obvious one that a lot of people would pick is Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, and I did sort of dangle that in front of myself for a little while, but then I settled on Peter Pan's Flight.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah.
It's just the queue time versus ride time.
Yeah.
Like, I don't mind the ride. I actually enjoy the ride, but I get on it. I'm queuing for 90 minutes for Peter Pan's Flight. If you can't get a lightning lane for it or whatever it's called now, and you're on it for a minute and a half for this ride.
Yeah. Oh,
and don't get me wrong, it's cute, but like,
it's not that
I don't want to
cute.
be cute. It's not cute. It's not an hour and a half cute. For me, a lot of the time, it's like queue time versus the payoff. How long am I going to get on the ride? And that's why it's one of the reasons I love Splash Mountain or Big Thunder Mountain or something like that, or even Small World, whatever. Because if I'm going to queue for something, I'm getting a 10-minute ride.
It's your bang for your buck,
Space
so much
Mountain
better.
Or whatever.
Yeah,
the bang for the buck, exactly. Splash Mountain was like a 10-minute ride. It's obviously now changed to Tiana's Bio Adventure, but it's still a 10-minute ride.
Yeah.
So whatever your thoughts are on the ride, you're still getting good bang for buck on the amount of queue that you're going to do on that. But yeah, Peter Pan's Flight, it's just a minute and a half ride.
Yeah.
For an hour and a half queue, it doesn't go anywhere, does it? So yeah, my most overrated ride would be Peter Pan's Flight.
You're backed up by a few people. I'll be honest. It's
praise.
To be fair, I reckon at least 50% of guests have said it. It's been said a lot because, and as much as anything, because it is exactly as you said. It's a short ride, but also anyone can ride it. This is as much as anything why the wait times are so high, isn't it? Because there's no height requirement. So anyone and everyone, like kids, families, the lot, are all going on this ride, and it's just carnage.
It really is,
but it's an absolute shout. It is, it's I think it's going to go down as the most overrated of all time. And leads us on to the final question, which is, what is the best thing to do outside of the parks in Orlando?
So this is hard because obviously, being somebody that goes to Orlando, we obviously love being in the parks, don't we? But we do need those rest days. We're not all young and sprightly anymore, are we? So 14 days straight in the theme park's hard, but we like to hop around the resorts. We like to hop around the resorts and experience, because especially at Disney, they've all got different themes. Caribbean Beach, Coronado, Poly, there's so many restaurants there, there's grab and go places, so we do that quite a bit. And the way you can do that, you go and park at Disney Springs and get a bus there, or if you don't mind paying, you can go and park at one of the theme parks. $30. How much is $30 worth to you? It depends. But
there you go.
We often park at Springs and do it because that's free. So or a lot of the Springs, obviously, we do outside the parks as well, and City Walk. But there's a lot of mini golf and stuff. The two mini golf courses over at Universal City Walk are absolutely fantastic. And we also did the Universal's Great Movie Escape there a little while back. The Jurassic World. It was fantastic, actually. The only caveat to it was, if you're a small group, they pit you with others. So if you don't get a good group, you can, it can be a little bit hit or miss. But the theming's fantastic. If you enjoy escape rooms or like storytelling or something like that, it really is pretty good. I think it's a bit more on the pricey side.
I
think we paid like $50 or $60 per person for it.
60 a head, isn't it?
But that was a lot of fun. I'd recommend doing it. I want to do the Back to the Future one as well. And like I said, the mini golf at City Walk, and just eating. We all eat a lot in Orlando, don't we? Like every time I'll go to Disney Springs, and it will be like, right, I'm going to Chicken Guy. I'm going to Gideon's to get it'll be Chicken Guy for dinner, and it'll be Gideon's for dessert. right?
Yeah.
If the queue isn't long, it isn't too long for Gideon's because it's normally 40-minute wait or something like that, right? But yeah, just exploring. You know, there's a lot of free stuff to do in Orlando as well. So, you know, the parks are expensive enough as it is. So getting out and doing some of that free stuff, like going to Springs, like going to City Walk and just looking around. You know, the Epic Universe Preview Center is now open. So that's something that I'm really looking forward to doing in a few weeks'
Yeah,
time
definitely.
and seeing this model. And I did a helicopter tour of Epic Universe in
Oh, wow.
January.
Yeah.
And so seeing it from above, and now I get to look at the model and what it's going to be like in a year's time when we can actually officially walk through that gate is going to be insane. So, you know, that's another free thing to do, the Epic Universe Preview Center, and just look around and see what Universal got on offer. Yeah,
Some good shouts.
those are things outside the parks.
So this was the episode with Leigh from A Brit Travels. I just want to say thank you again to Leigh for coming on to the podcast to come and have a chat with myself. He was an absolute pleasure to have a chat with. He really, really does know his stuff. So please do go and check out his Instagram. Please go and check out his YouTube. He puts out really, really good content. I hope you've all enjoyed this episode as much as I enjoyed recording it. And I will speak to you all in the next one.